Thanks to Storyblocks, this video is feasible. Here, we have a ranking that categorizes the most structured road layouts in 100 global cities, with the scale going from 0 to 1. A score of 1 signifies an ideal road grid. As per the ranking, Chicago tops the list with a score of 0.899, indicating its layout comes closest to a flawless grid. This doesn't come as a surprise, given that its cityscape resembles a printed circuit board with its impeccably straight lines. However, Chicago isn't the only city making a name for itself. In fact, American cities largely occupy the top positions in this grid ranking, with Miami and Minneapolis grabbing the second and third places respectively. Interestingly, when this grid-based ranking is juxtaposed against the 2021 list of the top 10 most habitable cities worldwide, there is no overlap. This discrepancy stems from the fact that these most livable cities have remarkably low scores on the grid ranking. Different metrics and perspectives come into play when determining a city's livability. Hence, multiple lists with different criteria. However, an observable pattern appears to hold steady across these varying lists. High living standard cities tend to shy away from a strict grid-like urban layout. At this point, one might argue that livability indexes take into account a multitude of factors. Therefore, the observation I've just made is grounded in a simple correlation. Saying a city is less livable due to a grid layout would be as absurd as attributing global warming to a lack of pirates. Just because the two are correlated, it doesn't imply causation. Indeed, this correlation does exist. However, you make a fair point. Correlation is not always an indicator of causation. Yet, does this straightforward negative correlation stimulate some intriguing questions? Does it prompt us to contemplate a crucial inquiry? Are cities characterized by a gridded layout inherently inferior? My response would be affirmative. Gridded designs have become particularly popular in the United States, largely as a result of events unfolding in the 19th and early 20th centuries. That was when substantial waves of immigration, predominantly from Europe, arrived in the U.S. urban planners, predicting future population surge, and the consequent densification of cities sought a straightforward, repeatable system to delineate land boundaries. Moreover, this system needed to be capable of efficiently accommodating future subdivision of the land. The grid layout was ideally suited for this task. It was logical, simple to employ, and efficient. The grid served as a blueprint that allowed property developers to synchronize their land boundary decisions, thereby minimizing potential land conflicts while maximizing the value of the land. For a while, it seemed as if the grid plan and land development were in perfect harmony. It's uncomplicated, efficient, economically sensible, and it aids land development. Everything appears to be in order. So how could a system like this possibly present issues? I'll delve into that shortly. But first, allow me to tell you about Storyblocks, the sponsor of this video. With a Storyblocks subscription, you have access to an unlimited number of high-resolution clips that are royalty-free and suitable for both personal and commercial use. So, where does the issue with grid designs arise? The answer lies in the advent of automobiles. Most urban grids were established before cars became a common sight. Then, Henry Ford innovated a way to mass-produce affordable vehicles, causing a complete shift in city dynamics. With Model T cars filling the streets in the 1920s, the very factors that were the grid's strengths, uniformity and simplicity, suddenly became its glaring weaknesses. When every street in a city follows the same design, it implies that each one is equally suited for car travel as the other. However, it's important to note that not all streets serve the same purpose. Some function as primary arteries, crucial for city circulation, while others are simply auxiliary routes. Failing to recognize this distinction results in suboptimal traffic management. The grid design's inability to differentiate between high-traffic streets and residential areas led to a significant uptick in traffic incidents. This disregard for street classification and the subsequent spike in traffic accidents is where the problem lies with grid designs. Compounding the problem is the inherent characteristic of grid layouts, the high frequency of intersections, which are, incidentally, the spots most prone to accidents. Urban planners soon recognized this issue and began to advocate for more automobile-friendly urban designs. Despite this shift in thinking, the problem continues to linger. Research conducted over the past quarter century has consistently deemed the grid as the most hazardous street design. A renowned urbanist encapsulated the problem with a candid yet elegant critique, stating, "The new gridiron plans were remarkable for their inefficiency and waste, largely due to their failure to adequately differentiate between main arteries and residential streets. The former were not sufficiently wide, while the latter were usually too expansive for mere neighborhood functions." The difficulties posed by grid systems extend beyond just traffic. If you're an urban planner with the laudable goal of creating an environmentally resilient city, a grid plan might pose a significant challenge. Its rigid structure lacks flexibility to adapt to the unique topographical features of the terrain, leading to a disturbance of natural land characteristics. In less high-flown terms, constructing an urban grid often necessitates flattening anything that obstructs its path. Moreover, grid layouts typically have a higher proportion of paved surfaces. This translates into more concrete and asphalt, and consequently reduced permeability and water retention ability. Such a situation sets the stage for potential issues with managing rainwater. A recent study suggested another environmental downside to grid layouts. Cities with grid designs tend to trap more heat than non-linear ones. The crisscrossing streets disrupt airflow and consequently retain heat, leading to an estimated excess cost of $400 million for air conditioning in Florida alone. Grid layouts may also have aesthetic shortcomings. Surprisingly, their repetitive, predictable nature has been criticized as monotonous, contributing to a rather dull urban landscape, which may negatively impact mental health. That being said, it's important to remember that grid designs became prevalent due to their efficiency and economic benefits. For every argument against them, there is a counter-argument. For instance, a study indicated that the high interconnectedness of grids offers certain advantages. Despite their challenges in traffic management, environmental sustainability, and aesthetics, grid designs aren't entirely without merit. A characteristic of grid designs, the high interconnectivity of roads, may contribute to reducing vehicular greenhouse gas emissions. Although this might become less pertinent as electric vehicles become more common, it's worth noting. Amid the growing disarray of urban sprawl, some advocate a return to the simplicity and interconnectedness of grid layouts. Despite their flaws, smart, innovative planning can exploit the grid's advantages while mitigating its drawbacks. For instance, Barcelona has transformed its grid into an infrastructure that supports a dynamic, eco-friendly urban lifestyle. No situation is solely good or bad. If grid designs can evolve to meet contemporary challenges, the future of urban development is promising. Please remember to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, as I've observed that many viewers tend to forget. Subscribing ensures you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.